The following podcast is an enticing media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice and Steve Trott. This is episode number 2 of the exclusive Don't Follow Me series. Steve, welcome back as guest host.
Time.
You did, and I
Yep.
specifically made sure that I enunciated so that you heard it this time.
Yeah, I know you did that just for me, and I was sitting over here paying close attention. So
Good.
Very good.
I like to hear that when you're paying attention. Good. Yes. So, all right. Today's topic, we're just going to dive right into it. So
Let's go.
Topic today is to follow or not to follow. And yes. So we posed 2 questions in the What the Nell podcast Facebook group, which is private currently. If you'd like, hop on into that group. You can request to be a member. It's we post interactive things like this occasionally, but I am working on a public Facebook group, just an FYI. So there's that
That's
announcement.
Good. That's good.
So keep an eye out for that. But we posted 2 questions in the group on this topic specifically. The first question was, why do you follow anyone? And the second question was, why do you seek followers? So there were quite a few comments having to do with these questions and this topic. And I want to dive into some of them. And a lot of the comments come from, actually, they all come from people we know. The first one. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get into the comments on this post, and Steve and I are going to give our realities behind the question and answer them, kind of give our own spin on what we think and kind of converse around the answers. So first one was Kelly Johnson, and her comment was, why do I follow someone? I want to learn or be entertained. I hope that when someone follows me, they feel the same. I don't know that I would say I seek or quote seek, unquote, followers. I hope people are making the choice to follow me or not based on their own thoughts. I have never liked to be a part of the popularity game. I really liked this answer. Steve, what is your reaction to this?
You know, it's good. It's good. And it probably covers a very broad spectrum of that umbrella for most people. Mm-hmm. The entertainment word is intriguing to me because the world of social media, there are so many things out there that are comical in a sense, or, you know, you're following something that you're not even familiar with, but their content gives you relief or amusement or something like that. So you end up following them, and it's like, oh, you follow them, and you may or may not even know who they are. Mm-hmm. But you're reacting to the content, so to speak. I think, you know, she hits the nail on the head with, you know, being followed or following someone else for good choices. But we also know in the dark side of social media, there are a lot of people that follow for the opposite reason.
Mm-hmm, yes. We touched on that a little bit in the introductory episode.
We did. And she hits on it pretty clear that, like, she herself does not follow for that reason.
Right.
But she's also acknowledging that there's plenty of people in the world that do. And it's good. It's a good broad answer to the question. I agree with it. In large part, I see no harm, no foul in that perspective overall.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, I like her response about not seeking followers. And this is what caused me at the time to think, you know what, we should have reworded the question. We should have reworded it to, do you seek followers? And
right.
It's interesting because I've always said that whenever you post on a platform, whether it be Facebook or YouTube, Twitter, anything, that you put something out there, you're looking for attention. And I actually posted, this was one of my most controversial posts that
Well,
people
see,
did seriously
you
unfollow
were
me for.
well, you were hoping we were going to disagree, and I actually disagree with the statement you just
Well,
said. Am I allowed to
may I
disagree with you right
explain?
now?
No, you're not allowed to yet because I have not voiced to you what that means. So let me tell you what that means.
Can't wait.
You have a choice every time something happens. Let's take Kenny and I in our travels, for instance, because we have the
Yes.
YouTube channel. So let's say, like last year, we went to Costa Rica. We have a choice. We can go to Costa Rica. We can not tell a soul. We can say, yeah, we're going to go have a vacation. Literally, we're the only two people that know we're here. Not tell anyone, not put up a video, not say anything, do anything about it, right? Instead, we chose to film what we were doing and put it up on YouTube. Why did we do that? The reason is because our channel and our goals with that channel is to help people make informed decisions about their travels. Now, that requires us to seek attention because we
Right.
are putting ourselves in that position of being the informers. And to be the informer, you need to have some kind of attention on you,
Yes.
whether it's your face, your voice, your information, anything that
Yes.
requires attention. And that's how I mean that. I don't necessarily mean, oh, you're looking for attention every time you post. And it's
No,
not
I
the same
agree.
thing as seeking followers.
Right.
It's just a level of you need to put yourself out there, and that is a level of attention getting.
Right. It is. It is. And I agree with that perception. And the piece that I was going to disagree with was depending on if you were going to throw it out there or not. But hook, line, and sinker is the people of the world in social media that do post the wrong kind of content just to seek the attention for a personal self satisfaction.
You mean
You
like
know,
clickbait?
like, yeah, like clickbait or look at me and all the things that go along with that.
Mhm.
You know, it's the wrong mentality to have.
So
And
what
those
makes it
people,
wrong?
well, I think, it's for a later episode because obviously look at me is going to be unraveled and
Oh,
unwrapped so much.
yes, yes.
But if you take the look at me atmosphere of what people put into their post,
Mhm.
you can usually tell by the person, you can tell by the style and the way it's put together
Mhm.
if they have that mentality or not.
Yes, yes,
Are they really
100%.
are they really seeking people that are just going to jump in the comments and say, "Oh my gosh, congratulations! I'm so proud of you. That's great." But at the same time, how they present that post to me makes all the difference.
Yes,
I'm absolutely
presentation.
going to, right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has a lot to do with wording and
Yes.
you
Yes.
can, I mean, if you're really, really reading into it and looking at it, maybe even knowing the person or not knowing the person, you make your assumption based on how it's worded. And it's really, really
Sure.
hard. How many times have
Sure.
you had conversations with people over text message that should have really been over either a FaceTime or in person? Because the
Happens all the
context,
time.
yeah, the
Yes.
context of emotion doesn't come through clearly. And, we can use all the exclamation points and the sad faces or the happy faces in the world, but it still doesn't come through clearly. And there is that cloud of technology, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah,
But
because there's always a big chance of misunderstanding buried in there.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it can happen in person too, but there's a higher chance of it happening when we're talking about digital media. So
100%.
cool. All
That's
right.
great.
Let's move on to the next one. I'm scrolling down here. So, all right, here's where Kenny comes in. So the questions again were, why do you follow anyone and why do you seek followers? And Kenny said, much like Kelly, I follow someone to be entertained, to learn something, and to support friends. I do my best to steer clear of negative posts and people. That's a quick way to get me to not follow you. To say I
Yes.
seek followers may be a stretch, but I do very public things, which requires me to be very active on social media. Being on YouTube, podcasts, and live radio, you want people to watch and listen. That's how you
Right.
grow. It's my hope that followers grow organically, but you need to start somewhere.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
love this answer too. What's your reaction?
Well, I like every bit of it, and I like how he touches on number one, education's huge
Yeah.
because there is a great opportunity out there to be further educated on a topic
Mhm.
by what's out there in the world of social media. Now, you need to vet the source. You need to understand what it is you're looking at, where it's
Yeah.
coming from,
Yeah.
to make sure it's the correct education. But it's there's a lot of good stuff out there. I think another piece of that is it the negativity, the
Mm.
amount of negativity that it can exist in the world of social is mind blowing, and
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
it can quickly ruin your day.
Mhm.
And I 100%, just like Kenny, will unfollow someone if I'm constantly seeing a trend in their information or in their content that just breeds negative thoughts.
Oh yeah, I
And
do
if
the same thing.
I just can't stand it. I'm like the negative Nancy's of the worlds, the Karens of the worlds, and all of the. It's like it can't. If you're going to get on social media and bash someone or put someone down or put something out there that's extremely negative, you're breeding you at that moment. You're not just sharing your own story. No
No.
one cares at that point. You're breeding that negativity to other people.
Yes, I
You're
do
asking other
absolutely agree.
people to jump on that wagon. And to Kenny's point, he gets 2 extra gold stars on this one because that's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge. That's a huge piece of the follow me conversation or don't follow me conversation
Mhm.
is positive versus negative.
Totally. I totally agree with that. And there are so many, it doesn't matter who you are. I don't care if you're friend, family, anything. If I continue to see what I would consider negative and not positively impacting the cesspool that is negativity or cesspool
Yes.
that that social media can be, excuse me, then I don't want to see it. I will unfollow you. But I think that there's something also really key here that he said, and it's supporting friends. And
Yes.
so how many times have you received a notification that said, so and so would like you to follow this page? Do you follow it or don't you?
Well, I first look at the source.
Hmm.
If it's a request or an invite from someone I know, then I typically jump right in and follow it.
Okay.
And I do that from a support standpoint. So, as a small business owner myself in South Central PA, I my network has grown exponentially in the last many years.
Yeah.
And as I meet someone, or let's say I become a colleague of someone that's in the insurance business, and I don't speak to them that regularly, but we still interact from time to time, and they send me an invite to another small business owner's business or page or support system or something along those lines. I'm typically, for the sheer point of support,
Hmm.
jumping in and following that. Or I'm at
Yeah.
least going to look into it and I'm going to see what the business is all about. Because my first thought is I myself would rather support other small businesses that are local. And number two, maybe that business has something to offer me that can
Mhm.
help me do what I do every day.
Yes, and I would agree with you. I do tend to think the same way, but here's the thing. We are both in similar mindsets that I think most of, if not all business owners think the same way, but not everyone on social media is a business owner. And when you say support friends, you know, I could imagine that the same way you and I get a notification that says this person would like you to follow their business page, we
Right.
look at that and say, yes, I know this person, I do want to support them, I will go follow them. There are people that get that notification and go, oh, they want me to
Yeah.
follow this page, well, I'm going to go follow it just so I can keep up with them to see what they're doing because I just want to know.
100%.
Or, oh, they want me to follow this page. This is never going to last. I'm going to go follow it just to
Right.
see wait for their failure. And
Right.
we
Well,
touched on
here,
this in the last episode too.
yeah. It's an interesting conversation because I can give you a real time example in the construction industry for what I do every day.
Mm,
I actually, and I got questioned on this about a year ago. Someone asked me why I follow so many of my competitors' pages and
Mm,
their generalized information.
this is good.
And it was interesting because they were looking at it from a negative standpoint. They're like, "Well, you're supporting it." I'm like, "No, no,
You're
no, you don't
spying
understand.
on me.
Not necessarily, but like we in this business always have a reason to stay connected.
Mhm,
So like we could provide the exact same service, but that person could be in Harrisburg and I'm in York.
mhm.
Well, there comes a time where we need a resource or we need a question answered or we need to just know of each other. And you can actually build a relationship inside of your arena
Mhm.
of business, which allows you to coexist with your competitors and not necessarily step on each other's toes.
Yes.
So we're not we're not taking business from each other, but we're aware of each other. And
Mhm.
I've actually received calls from other contractors that have said, "Hey, I'm too busy right now. I've seen some of your work and it's incredible.
Mhm.
Would you be interested in a job that I need to say no to if I
Mhm.
pass it along your way?"
Yeah.
It it applies to a lot of different fields of work. And
Yes.
I think people miss that concept because they don't look at their competitors or they don't follow their competitors because they can only think they're they're blinded. You know, they have their
Yeah.
blinders on. They're just looking one direction. They think they're supporting them, but you don't have to do it just to support them.
Well, also think of
There's a
it.
lot of other things that come into that.
Yeah. And if you think of it in terms of just general collaboration and respect for the fact that you were willing to give business to a competitor. So if I am a consumer or a client and I understand that this is happening, okay, my vendor can't make this happen for me, but he is now recommending someone that can, who is their
Right.
direct competitor. Me as the client or the consumer is thinking, wow, that's really noble. And that's pretty cool. That also makes another check mark in my book on why this vendor is really great to work with. And that would
One
make
thousand
me,
percent.
yeah,
Yes.
that would make me come back again. So when you look at it from that perspective too, there's that. And then there's also the collaboration aspect. And coming from the creative industry, I work with a client that technically, yes, could be my competitor in basically one area now for sure. But, we work together. Like,
Right.
when you're actually not completely all about the money, you're
Yeah.
actually in it for the right reasons, you are
Yep.
open to the idea of collaboration because it's the two heads are better than one theory, right? If
Yeah.
you're really great at something and I'm really great at something and we both kind of do the same things, why wouldn't we work together to make something epic and bring something positive to the world? So that's where I go with that. But
No, I think it's
yeah.
good. I think it's great. I mean, it's it boils down a little bit to follow or not to follow.
Mhm.
And I think if we're teaching our listeners anything right now, it's like, don't be afraid to follow someone for the right reasons.
Yes.
Like, and if it is business or it is, in Kelly Johnson's experience, it could be another photographer.
Hmm.
Now, are we looking at tips and tricks? Are we looking at their style of work? These are all fair things. Most of us as business owners are part of different groups or networking organizations,
Hmm.
and we are sitting at the table with other like-minded business owners
Hmm.
that some of them even work in the very same fields.
Yep.
We can coexist and we can be friends and we can work together
Yes.
in ways that don't compete with each other's businesses.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I think that's the biggest thing for people to learn more and more and more about in the world of business and social media and following someone or not following someone.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So there's one other person that commented who only have to assume is some relation to you, Steve. Tracy Nardella Trott
Oh, it's
said,
my mother. My mother.
oh,
Okay.
Mama Trott.
I I didn't you know what? Shame on me for not even seeing this one. I'm ready to hear it because I don't
I
even know what she
mean,
says.
so she said, I quote, seek followers, unquote, for my small paper crafting business. I do over
Retail.
90% of my business online now. So I'm always interested in more followers. Yes,
You know,
retail.
this is huge. It's a good job, Mom. If you're out there listening, whatever, wherever you are, a good job, good comment. Because, retail we haven't touched on yet, but whether it's online business or in-store business or brick and mortar, whatever the case may be, those people are seeking followers every single day.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and it's key. And, them being able to say publicly, yes, I'm seeking followers. Yes, I'm seeking followers. There's nothing wrong with that. Go
No.
after it, go after it, go after it. And I always tell people, go after it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Put the things out there that are going to allow people to get to know you more, to understand what product you're pushing forward.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's going to support your small business, number one reason, yes, they like your product. The very second reason is they can connect with you as an individual.
It's the
If
like,
they
no
don't,
trust.
yes, if they don't like you, they are not buying from your business. They don't care how good your product is. and it's huge. But in the world of retail, yes, they are seeking followers every day, day in and day out.
I wouldn't necessarily say that just because I don't like somebody doesn't mean I won't buy it. Listen, nobody in my household, namely myself and Kenny, nobody here wants to go to Walmart. I don't want to support the CEO of Walmart, but guess what?
Nope.
Every once in a blue moon, I got to go get something at Walmart. Why? Because I have to. I have to.
I hate Walmart.
I
Sorry,
know.
did I say that out loud? I'm so sorry.
Listen, I hate Walmart too. It is not something that you should be ashamed of.
No. And you know what? You're right. And we can say the same thing about Amazon. We can say so many things like Amazon. Yes, it can be delivered to my porch tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But a whole nother episode there now. Whole nother episode. Whole nother episode.
Absolutely.
No, it was good. It was good. So I haven't. Give me your thoughts now. Mm-hmm. Nell Tice, personally, we've got radio show, we've got YouTube travel channel, we've got enTICEingmedia. You obviously, in every aspect of all those categories, you're seeking followers to a certain extent.
Sure.
And what are some things that you do that are on your yes/no categories? Like what's the high on the yeses that help you with your followers and help that grow? And what are some of the no-nos that you say, oh, I need to make sure I never do this? Like one of the many things is personal stories or drama. Obviously, that's probably on the no side of the list. But what are some examples you run into?
So what I'll do first is I'll read you the answer to the post that I wrote, because this is going to kind of jog my memory. And now looking back at it, it is starting to do that. So I'll tell you, this is what I said. While many of my feelings towards these questions will be reserved for the podcast, I follow people largely based on how they serve me and others like me, whether that's for education, entertainment, or research. More on that in the podcast. But I also follow people and pages to provide support. If a friend or colleague is looking to build their following and I support their mission, I will follow. As far as seeking followers, I said I don't, which I think I need to reword this. What I do seek is awareness and connection. Getting in front of the right people is something I also seek. Does all of that require the follow button to be clicked? Nope. For me, obtaining followers is a byproduct of what I'm seeking on social media. So
that's good. That's good. I think
it's a little wishy-washy.
It's a little wishy-washy, but in large part, you're leaving it up to your content to grow your following organically.
Yeah, I really have.
I don't think there's any harm in that, because there's other people out there in the world where the first thing you read on their post is, please like and follow my page. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have to constantly remind someone to click like or follow or share, you're obviously not posting for the right reasons.
Well, no, Steve. Okay, we're going to disagree on that. So here's the
Yeah, I
thing.
know. I know. I know where
When
you're going with this.
on YouTube, you
I know.
absolutely, it is imperative that you remind people to like
Click
videos,
subscribe.
subscribe,
Yeah.
all of those things. Why? Because you honestly, when you are providing content and telling people what to do, you need to speak to them as though they have no idea what to do. And
You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
because you have to guide people because otherwise, I mean, some people legitimately don't know. And you also have to remind people because people are so, I mean, remember, our attention spans are so short and they're getting shorter because of all of the overwhelming content and all of the things that we're doing all at once. There's probably
Could
somebody,
be the microwaves.
it
Could
could
be the
be the
microwaves.
microwaves. And, somebody right now at this very second is listening to this podcast in their ear while they're getting dinner ready for their kids while packing lunches for tomorrow while cleaning the house. So there's a
Wow.
lot of stuff going on
Yeah.
that you have to get in front of people and remind them to do certain things. We have to. Why do you think Alexa exists and Siri and virtual assistants and things like that?
Oh, come on. Come
We
on. You know that's
need
just for the government to spy
reminders.
on
Well, oh my God, that's a whole different episode too. But that we have so much going on
you.
in our lives that we
Yes.
forget some of the smaller tasks. And that is why you need to remind people. And so I do disagree with what you say about telling people to do certain things like that.
No, you're right. I mean, I knew right away because you're the YouTube gal. I knew right away when you said you were going to disagree. I knew right where you were going because every YouTube video I watch, they remind me you got to like it and subscribe, and I usually do. If it's at least a channel that I like, and there's a couple that I follow. But you're right, and I guess where I was at was more on the everyday content of a Facebook post or certain
Yeah,
things. It's
I
like
get that.
if I'm reading someone's everyday Facebook post and they're still reminding me or they want me to share it, and there's no real reason to share it, that to me is again that person is in a gray area
Yeah,
where it deserves to be shared.
yeah.
If one of your posts gets shared 100 times, let's do it organically. I mean, that's what I like about my post. I've started with the motivational post about 6 years ago,
Hmm.
and they've kind of transitioned over the last many years and through COVID. And COVID was a big piece of this because I myself was dealing with so much turmoil between having a large family and kids, and my business got shut down courtesy of the phase of work or the type of work that we do. We weren't allowed to work during COVID.
Hmm.
I mean, it it changed a whole perception of life for me. And I found myself in a position where I wanted to just read positive mindset. And I just kept pushing that and pushing it and pushing it. And people would come to me all the time. They're like, Steve, you post these pictures and you never write anything. I'm like, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But believe it or not, in the world of Facebook, the the relativity of some of the information and the interactions that I get are higher on a post that's just an image, and I don't sit and write something to go along with it.
Yeah.
And if it's a positive image with a positive quote, and it gets one 3 days ago has 1,000 and over 100 interactions, and it got shared like 200 or 300 times.
Hmm.
Well, to me, that's great. Was I necessarily looking for that to happen?
Hmm.
No, I don't care that it did, but it's great because it was a very positive, it was an energetic quote, and it was real life scenario for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And obviously, that post at that time interacted with all those people that made them jump on that wagon.
Right.
And to me, that's the key. And that's what I look for in other people's posts as well. Like I want to engage in that post and get something out of it that's going to make my life better.
Yeah.
And I stay away from as much negative stuff as I possibly can, just like Kenny does.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Well,
So we'll see.
yeah. So we had one other comment that came in the form of an email. that we
Oh,
will
that's right. That's
address.
right.
We
That's
will
right.
address in a later episode because we will probably have that
All
person
right.
on as a guest. So
All
we'll leave
right.
that for then. But yeah, so that's basically the gist of what, we were kind of going for in
So let's
posing
give
that question.
one thing I'd like to, I didn't tell you this yet, but we've done it on a bunch of our episodes in the past.
Oh.
Let each one of these topics, I feel like we should leave the listeners with a final thought.
The Jerry Springer
What's
final thought.
yeah, what's the Nell Tice final thought? And then I'll see if I can drum something up here for you.
Oh
What do you
gosh.
wrap this topic up in one positive thought for everyone?
Okay, so to follow or not to follow. To follow to me is basically follow someone not for, I don't know how to say this, not the entire experience. And when I say that, I mean follow someone to pick up on tips. And for instance, I have several people that I follow that, let's just use like wellness, holistic,
Sure,
like
sure,
things like that. I don't believe that any one person has all of the answers that I'm looking for, right? So I have a slew of people that I follow to get tidbits of information from, to be able to form my own opinion or my own recipe for something that I should be doing. And,
right,
we touched on this a little bit earlier, or even the last episode, and not encouraging people to follow one person to be just like them. And I don't believe that all of the answers that I'm looking for lie in one person and one
right,
account, I should say. And so that is what encourages me to follow. And that actually has to do with the research that I was talking about in my comments. So if I have something in
right.
mind that I'm looking for, it's like a health thing. If I want to learn how to the first thing that comes to my head is not smell like BO without
Yeah,
wearing deodorant or something. I don't know. It's like, what can I eat? What can I use? What minerals and vitamins can I take and things like that?
right, right.
I follow several different accounts for research so that I can make my own informed decision on what I need to do to not smell like BO without wearing antiperspirant. Anyway, so then
No,
not to
that's good.
follow,
That's good.
not to follow to me is, I'm not following the people that I see mixed messages in.
Yeah,
I've followed some people that have pushed an item, and then a month later they're pushing another item that is exactly the same but different, and I'm
right,
thinking, all right,
right,
so what kind of compensation are they getting for this? And so
right.
now that there's that in mind, I question the intentions of the person pushing the
Yes,
products. So I
that's
will
key.
unfollow. Hmm.
That's key. We
We'll
haven't really
talk about
touched on
that.
that yet, but that's key. A little
We'll
bit.
talk about
Yeah.
that in another episode. That's a false sense of
Yep.
promotion. But
Absolutely.
so I will unfollow for that. I do unfollow negativity. And like I said, I don't care who you are in my life. I'm going to unfollow you if I continue to see, oh, woe is me. No one likes me. No one's calling
Oh.
me. No one,
Oh
no one said
yeah.
happy
Oh yeah.
birthday. No one wished me Merry Christmas. No one invited me out. All that stuff. No one this, no one
Click.
that. Click unfollow.
Yeah.
So then, and the negativity, oh, I wish this happens to someone or something like that. That's just dumb. Immaturity,
Yes.
I will unfollow that too. And also the same stuff, like the regurgitation of things that I've already heard. So I'm already following this. I don't need to follow these other 10 accounts that say the exact same thing.
It's interesting you say that, and it's funny because there's a lot of people out there that regurgitate their own stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I've seen a picture of you looking a certain way. I don't need to see it again. I don't that picture
Well,
doesn't need certain things don't need to be used over and over and over again.
no, I agree with that, with what you're saying, but I just be careful and don't confuse regurgitate with repurpose.
Yes and no, but if the message is the same and you didn't take the time to write something different, and I can go back a couple months and find that same post,
Oh,
that to me you've regurgitated it in
yeah,
my book.
there's a fine line between
Yeah,
regurgitate and
there is.
repurpose, and
There
maybe
is.
we should actually make that a topic.
That's probably not a horrible idea. Well, now that was a very long final thought. Can I share mine?
Yeah, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Okay. So for me, it's short and sweet, and it's quality over quantity. And I know some people will say, well, wait a minute, maybe that should be the comment to the followers. No, I'm looking at the quality of the content over the quantity related to how much that content shows up.
Sure.
If a person posts, and some people out there only post maybe once a week, once a day, and their content is really good, or I can connect with it and I consider it quality, I am more apt to follow that person than I am that mixes in quality and not so much quality, so to speak, but because they post 6 or 7 times a day.
Yes.
So maybe their morning post is really great and motivating, but then at lunchtime, I'm hearing about their lunch and their disaster of a day, and then at dinner time, it's a joke or something else. I'm like, I have trouble connecting and following that because I don't want my timeline flooded with that kind of stuff. So I'm very choosy on who I follow, so that when I take my few minutes and I decide to look at my own timeline, I just want to see the things that I know I want to be there first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think for me, as you gain more followers, I've learned that, because believe it or not, I am not able to spend a lot of time on Facebook. All my posts are scheduled.
Yeah.
Everything is predetermined. It's pre-outlined. I'm looking at things that are days and days away. And then I go in and mix, let's say it's a situation with my daughter or something that's happened to the family. And you've seen me share some of those recently. Those will just go in. They're not part of a schedule, and I'll share something or I'll put information out there. And typically I'm doing that just to make sure others are informed, because it's important to me that people understand what's going on from the source. I don't like people finding things out from other people, and then I hear from them and they've been told something that's not accurate or wrong information.
Right.
And that goes into the quality part of what's out there on social. So that's my final thought. Look at the quality of the content, what you're following, and pick and choose whether it deserves your time and your energy, and whether or not you should follow that person.
I love it. I love it, Steve. You actually, while you were saying all of that, inspired 3 new topic ideas for the series that I put into our little spreadsheet. So go ahead and take a gander when you have availability.
I will. No, this was great. This was a good topic. I'm excited. I'm really excited for the next one.
Yes.
We're not even going to tell everybody. It's going to be fun.
No, we're not going to tell everybody. We're going to have a guest, but we're not going to tell everybody what is happening or who it is.
And you'll love the topic, and I can't wait to get there.
Absolutely. I love it too. So awesome. Steve, thank you so much again for being an awesome guest co-host awesome co-host. Not even a guest anymore at this point.
I'm still a guest. I can be a co-host when we have someone else on.
Yeah, well, you're permanently in the graphic for this series, so I don't even know if you're a guest at this point.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's kind of cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look for some royalties in the mail one day.
Please do. You'll be looking extra hard.
Right, exactly.
All right, you guys, I just want to remind you, as we've talked about earlier, we do seek, if you do listen and like this podcast, only if you like it. Don't do anything if you didn't like it. Don't follow us if you didn't like it. But if you do, give us a like, a subscribe, review, all of the things. A share, yes, definitely share this episode. Shares are huge. So,
and you know what? Now, hold on. For all the listeners, Nell, you said something interesting. Even if you didn't like the podcast or the episode, see if you're still willing to share it. Because remember, the more people that get to hear the information, the more impact you are able to share with the others in the world.
That's true. And maybe you'll spark up conversation elsewhere.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enTICEingmedia.com. That's enTICEingmedia.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.